Well, hello, welcome. Today's Vinyasa flow is going to be happiness. So I was inspired by the new list of the world's happiest countries. And of course, the US did not make the top 10. But I thought, well, if the US isn't one of the top 10, what can we do individually to make sure we improve our happiness? So there's so many things we can do, but yoga is just one aspect that can help us with things like our social support. So we have our social group here. So finding our social group, it improves our health, maybe gives us a little freedom from any negativity that we might be holding on to. It could then also help us to develop our own generosity. So thinking about the generosity that we've brought to others. So these are all some of the components, as we saw in my email, some of the components that develop happiness. So how are we happy? Anyway, so we'll focus on joy, and joy, if we're talking about chakras, is focused in the sacral area, the sacral chakra. So that would be where our sits bones is. So behind underneath our belly button in our nether regions. So that'll be our focus for today. Remember, as always, as we are getting ourselves together, that if you want to get any of your props, you can have your props here. I'm going to use a rolled up thin extra mat for our last posture. And then we have a few postures that we can use blocks for. So if you felt inclined to have those in our last posture, you could also use your comforter if you have a comforter handy. You're welcome to do so. But let's go ahead and get started in our little arrival activity. Hope everyone is doing well today, but let's focus on how do we develop some joy. It is my joy that I get to see all of you. So that's what I look forward to every week. And the arrival activity, I'm going to invite you to just come into a very casual cobbler's pose, where we're really focusing on our sits bones connected to the earth and our hips and this lower region activating. We're going to do some sacral breathing. Now, if this doesn't feel good, you can always just go into an easy seat. But our sacral breathing will be, and I'm going to move closer to the camera just to begin it. That's the one, we've done this before, where I'm going to take my right thumb against my right nostril and inhale in my left nostril. And then I'm going to take my pointer finger, place it on my left nostril, and exhale out of my right. I'm using left and right as what's closest to my right arm and my left, just for sake of ease. So once I've exhaled to my nostril, then I inhale through the right nostril and then transfer over. So we keep doing this. We'll do this for about 1 minute. Inhaling and exhaling. Once you've inhaled, lock that nostril and exhale through the other nostril. Breathing in slowly and deeply, focusing on your breath. And maybe with our last few breaths, really think about how your body is feeling right now, especially compared to how you felt as we started class tonight. And keep finish your last round come back to our seated position. I notice that my body seems to relax a lot more about halfway through a round of those breathing. So that's a great tip for if you're feeling really stressed out. Just take 1 minute to do that breathing. Even if you have to lock yourself in the bathroom, bring yourself down. All right. Well, in this posture here, we're going to do a little Tadasana. So right hand holding on to my feet. I'm going to take my right elbow and nudge it in to the corner of my knee as close as you can. If you can't quite get into that corner of the knee, maybe just leaning against your thigh. Inhale my left arm up and over. Make sure that the left sits bones is still connected to the mat, that it's not coming up. We'll breathe here for a minute, keeping your chest open, not collapsing in, and thinking about what are the things that bring you joy. What are the things that you do each day, little tiny moments of happiness? Take one more breath in and exhale, coming back up to our seated position. And we'll do the other side. I'm going to take my left hand to my toes, nuzzle in my left elbow to my left knee. Inhale my right arm up. Really thinking about the space that we're building in the right side of our body. Maybe this is space that we are building for adding in joy, adding in happiness. Take one more breath here, inhaling and exhaling back to center. All right, and we'll do a little warm-up flow in our seated position. But this time, why don't we sit in our easy seat? So one leg over the other, pay attention, we'll switch them up. From our seated position, back nice and tall. Inhale, arms up overhead. Spine long, arms long. And exhale, right arm down to the mat, left arm reaching, just like what we just did, but just slightly differently now. Breathing into the side body here. And then inhale, coming back up, arms up overhead. And exhale, left hand down, right arm reaching over. Paying attention to that extra space. Inhale, arms up overhead, shoulders down. And this time we'll do a twist. Exhale, left hand to right knee, right hand behind your right hip. Gentle twist. Inhale, arms up overhead. Make sure those shoulders are down. And exhale, twisting now to the left. Right hand on left knee, left hand behind your hip. Gentle twist. Inhale back up to center. And this time we'll place an exhale. Place our hands behind our back on the mat. Inhale, slight bend in the lower back, opening up the chest. And exhale, coming back to center. Inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale, bending at the waist, at the hips, reaching forward as far as it's comfortable. And for this one, if you would like to use a block here, you can use a block. You certainly don't have to make it all the way down to the mat. And then inhale, roll back up to seated position. Let's switch our legs, and then we're going to do a little circle of joy. So we'll do this very quickly. The circle of joy. I'm going to, actually, I'll move to the side so you can see this a little bit better. But sitting with my sits bones down, inhale, chest open, and exhale, coming into a circle in front. Inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale, coming back behind you. from behind. Inhale, coming forward into a circle. Exhale, coming up. Inhale, arms behind. And exhale, coming to a circle again. And that's where we'll stop. We'll come back up to a seated position, just warming up the body with some different breath work. All right. From here, now let's get to something that's a little more familiar. We'll roll into our tabletop. Knees under hips, wrists under our shoulders, and our cat-cows as usual. So just remember using your fingers and your toes as we inhale and exhale. Do this at your own pace, really waking up the breath and waking up the back. Getting that spine moving. Do one more round and meet me back at table. Okay, so we're going to start a little flow today. Put my hair back here for a moment. And our flow begins on the ground and then moves through standing, goes all over the place. So hopefully you are ready for this. Okay, so we're going to go into a variation of gait. So with my left hand, weight on the left hand, weight on the left knee. I'm going to reach out that right leg. Bring my body up, and I'm going to reach right hand down my right leg and left arm up overhead. If you didn't get there the way that I did, as long as you're getting there. So we're stretching that right leg out, right hand is on that, left arm reaches over. So you notice we're doing a lot of the same movement here. So each time, think about the space that we're building on that stretching side spot. Now from here, we're going to shift our weight to the other side and do a half moon variation. Instead of standing up, we'll do this on the ground. You can always use a block here for this as well if you need. But with the left knee bent, reach that right leg out, left hand comes to the mat, right hand reaches up toward the ceiling. Breathing here, half moon variation. Pulling that belly button in, finding your balance. Now let's inhale and exhale, lowering down the leg and the hand. Pressing on the hand, we're going to come back into a down dog. It's your first down dog, so feel free to walk it out if you'd like. And then place your weight on your left foot. Inhale the right leg up. And then inhale, exhale, bend the right knee, stack the hips, opening up the hips and the body here. Take one more deep breath in and exhale, shifting the weight, bringing the hips back, holding onto the leg, and slowly bringing the leg now through the center and planting by right foot by right thumb. Now both my feet are facing the front. So we're going to activate our thighs, activate our core, and come up into a high lunge. While we're holding here, inhale, your back hip forward, your front hip back. Make sure that your hips are stacked. They're in a line. Inhale, that chest open. Exhale, exhale the shoulders down. And we're going to shift our body weight here into a warrior two. You'll see my backside for just a moment. Sorry. But inhale and exhale, shifting that back leg, sending our arms out either direction. Inhale, opening the chest. Exhale, pulling your pinkies back. Inhale, checking the knee over your ankle that you're not coming inward. Exhale, checking that your feet are in alignment. All right, we're going to shift our weight now onto our right foot and come to a balancing pose. If you need to use a wall, a chair, or a dog, you're welcome to do so. So moving my weight in, that was not a very graceful move. Weight is on my right foot. Feel the weight on all four corners of the foot. Picking up your left foot behind you. See if you can grab your left foot, holding it here. Or if you feel like you'd like, find your drishti, reach your right arm out, kick your left foot back into dancer. And of course, you can find whatever expression you would like for this posture. Keep holding it there. Take one more good breath. And we're going to move into a wide-legged forward fold. And I'm going to shift my body after we've gone there. So slowly release your foot, coming down as slowly as you can. And see if you can step back so that you're now in a wide-legged fold. But I'm going to turn to face the camera. Okay, so my feet are wider than my hips. Inhaling our spine long and hinging at the hips, diving forward, coming down to a forward fold. Feel free to use a block here or use your shins for support. So for this first one, knees gently bent, just allowing gravity to pull our heads toward the earth. No need to move, just be. I think a lot of people would agree that joy really comes from just being present, not worrying about tomorrow, not worrying about yesterday. We have no control. All right, from here, pressing into our feet, we're actually going to move on our heels. If you can see my heels are moving, my feet are going to widen, toes pointing to the corners, knees are bent a little bit more. And I'm going to slowly roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. Reach my arms up, inhale and exhale, arms down into cactus and legs down into a squat, goddess pose. As we breathe here, think about elongating your spine and pulling the arms back, opening the chest. Check your knees, that your knees are not collapsing in, that we're keeping them over our ankle. If it means that you have to come in a little bit, then do so. Whatever's going to work for your body. And we're going to add a little twist in here because why not? I'm doing that with everything else, right? Let's take right forearm. And as the forearm comes into the leg, pressing into the leg. So you're pushing the leg out, reaching the left arm up towards the ceiling. If your neck does not want you to look up at the ceiling, don't look at the ceiling. You can look at the screen, you can look at the floor. See if we can get a little twist in here at our core. All right, now we're going to shift our weight to a skandasana on the right. I'm going to take my hands slowly down to the mat, shifting my weight and sitting down into a side lunge. If you need, you can use a block under your hip, but make sure that the left foot is active and the knee is not collapsing in. We're keeping that active. Now, wherever you're at, if you're all the way down, maybe you have your knees in and you're in a prayer pose. breathe here and hold for just a moment before we move on to the other side. Really thinking about our sacral chakra today. How can we bring ourselves joy and pleasure? All right, one more inhale, and we'll release. And let's see, you would be facing the front of your mat. You can go ahead and come back to our center. Actually, we'll just come back to standing just to move through if that's easy enough. Shake your body out. And we're going to start with our gate pose on the other. So from here, let's just inhale those arms up overhead. Exhale, diving down. Plant the hands on the mat, stepping back into our tabletop, and we'll move into our gate pose on the other side. So this time, gate pose, let me face over here. Weight on the right hand and the right foot, reaching the left foot back, bringing my body through the center, using my right leg as a kickstand. Gate pose, left hand to the outstretched left leg, right arm overhead. We'll transition from here to our half moon variation. So right hand to the mat, left leg stretched out, and you can keep your hand on your hip or reach that left hand up toward the ceiling. Your right leg is still kicked standing. Activate that core, activate the hip. Take one more good breath in and exhale, coming back to our tabletop and then pushing through to down dog. Hold in down dog for a moment and see if you can find a moment of peace here in down dog. Instead of doing walking out the dog, see if you can find peace, quiet. This time, weight will go on the right hand and right foot. Inhale the left leg up behind you. Exhale, bending that knee and opening up those hips, stacking the hips on top of each other. Take one more good breath in and exhale, unstacking the hips, slowly coming through the center, carefully bringing the knee in and planting left foot by left thumb. I'm going to move just so that I'm facing the right direction here. Okay, so left foot by left thumb. So we're going to do our high lunge here. Toes are pointing toward the short end. Activate those thighs, activate the core, and come up into a high lunge. And if you need to drop your knee, I didn't mention that before, you can always drop your knee or keep that low knee, or you can keep it nice and but the toes are facing the same direction. Check that your knee is over your ankle. Inhale here, and we'll slowly transition with an exhale into warrior two. Same as before, inhale to open the chest, exhale to pull the pinkies back. Inhale, checking your feet are aligned. Exhale, checking that your knee is over your ankle. Now we'll transition into a dancer pose, weight shifting onto the left foot. However you want to transition to that, find all of your weight on all four corners of that left foot, activating the core, finding your drishti, slowly bringing that right foot up. See if you can capture the right foot. Hold on to a wall if you need to. And stay here, really keeping that balance, or reach out the left hand and kick the right foot back. And of course, you can change the expression of dancer. Take one more breath here. Inhale and exhale, slowly releasing and bringing your right foot to the yoga mat. We'll do another wide-legged forward fold. So feet is wider than the hips, hinging at the hips, diving forward into a forward fold. This time, I invite you to add a little bit of movement. Knees are gently bent and maybe moving back and forth, or even capturing your elbows and just rocking back and forth. Whatever's going to work, whatever's going to feel good for you. Release the neck, release the head. And we'll go ahead and do what we did before. Shifting on our heels so that the toes point outward, bending the knees a little bit more, rolling up into a goddess pose. Arms up and exhale, cactus. So maybe this time you try to go a little bit deeper, really breathing into our sacral chakra here. Now from here, we'll do that same twist, left forearm in by your left knee, pushing the left knee out carefully, and then inhaling the right arm up toward the ceiling. If you'd rather stay with your hand on your hip, you can. Neck, you can either look up or you can look down. Really twisting at that core. Think about pulling that belly button into the spine, making sure you're not collapsing into the lower back. Now we'll flow into our Skandasana on the left. So I'm planting my hands by my left foot, coming down into low left squat. You can use a block. You could not use a block. Whatever is going to make you happy. But right leg needs to be straight. Knee is up toward the ceiling. Toes are active. Take another deep breath in. And exhale, releasing slowly to the floor so that the butt meets the floor. Keeping your legs stretched out. And we'll do a little cane pose here. If you would like, if you're feeling like you're not quite into a good cane pose, you can always put a mat or a thin blanket under the knees or not. But let's, from here, keeping our legs stretched out, toes are active, inhaling the arms up overhead, and exhale, reaching toward the toes, head toward the knees, but no slouching, which actually is a posture, but not for us today. So keep that integrity. And for about 30 seconds, for each of your deep inhales, your back is long. For each exhale, see if you can bend a little bit closer to your knees. Come back to thinking about whatever brings you joy, little things that bring you joy. This brings me joy, for example. Okay, let's slowly release our toes, our shins, our knees, whatever we were holding on to. I'm going to move this out of the way. We're actually going to roll onto our knees to do a camel pose. Okay, so I'm crossing my ankles, rolling to my knee. If this is uncomfortable, you can always use a blanket or fold over your yoga mat. Feet are active, bringing the torso upright. And I'll show you some modifications if you need to. So you can start by placing your hands just above your buttocks in your lower back. Inhaling the spine long and the chest open, and exhale a minor back bend here. Now, if this is where you are at today, that's wonderful. And if you want to try a little bit more, you could start with a half camel. Or if you are feeling it, doing a full camel. If you do the half camel, do about 2 or 3 breaths on each side, and then carefully moving to the next. Breathing here, just observing your breath as your body is so changed now. Take one more breath and slowly release, coming out. We can come back to a seated position. What I love about camel posture is that it helps to open up our heart. And when we open our heart, it helps us to open up to joy. Speaking of joy, we're going to roll back down and give ourselves a little happy baby here. Today is much more about joy and luxury than it is about working out. But let's actually start with giving our knees a nice hug. Maybe rock back and forth and give your lower back a little massage. And if you're feeling it, I'm going to grab my big toes, and of course you can grab the outside of your feet as well, and pull my knees towards the mat. Knees are pressing against my elbows, elbows pressing against the knees, pulling my legs in for a hip opener in our happy baby. And if you'd like to rock happy baby back and forth, you're welcome to rock happy baby back and forth. See if you can pop any of your spine. All right, and let's come back into a little focus here. So we're going to do a little spinal twist. So let's reach the left leg out and guide the right knee over to the left. Reach that right hand out. Breathing here. We did a lot of twisting today. So take the time to just feel the luxury of this twist now in the reclined state. As we start to roll back onto our back, let your right ankle come on top of your left knee, and we'll just do a little thread the needle or reclined pigeon pose here, grabbing my shin, pulling my knee toward the chest. We did a few hip openers as well, so it's good to release any of the extra work that we did, but release that tension, and that will help bring us some joy too. All right, release the shin, and we will switch legs. So this time, reach your right leg out and gently guide your left knee, to the right. Left hand over to the left. And as you exhale, when you start rolling back onto your back, right knee captures left ankle, bring the right knee toward the chest. One of these days, I'm going to be good with my right and my left. I promise. And slowly release. We're going to come into a Supta Baddha Konasana, a reclined cobbler's pose. So bottoms of the feet together. Let the knees fall open. And since we'll be here for a little longer than normal for the Supta Baddha Konasana, if you'd like to have a block under your knees for support, you're welcome to. But I invite you to bring your hands to your belly. And in fact, I forgot to mention this before. I apologize. If you have a comforter or if you have a bolster that you would like under your torso, you're welcome to use that here in our Supta Baddha Konasana. Getting ourselves nice and comfortable here. So block under your knees. I need one on my other knee. Blocks under your knees if you'd like. A comforter or a bolster under your torso, hands to our belly. And let's take a few breaths here. Really paying attention to your breath as it changes your body in your inhale and your exhale. And I invite you to take this moment to consider a few questions about joy. So in the happiest countries of the world, as I'd mentioned in our email, the things that brought joy are things like social support, health, freedom, generosity, absence of corruption. Those are all things that yoga can address. There's another element that's finances, but yoga definitely cannot address that. But I invite you to consider your social circle or social circles. Just observe, no judgment. Maybe even ask yourself how you can add into your social circle. And while we are reclined here in Supta Baddha Konasana, just observing our breath. Maybe consider, do you prioritize your health? And if you do, how do you prioritize your health? And maybe consider, how can you add generosity into your life. Take all of these in your thoughts. And if you would like to participate in a Shavasana on your own, this would be a great time to do that. You do not have to close out class with me. Feel free to reach your legs out and let your arms drop to the side. And start your Shavasana here, observing your breath. But I otherwise will close out our class. Ignore me if you would like your Shavasana. I'm going to slowly come out of my posture, move my blocks to the side, roll my way out slowly. And when you are ready, come and join me in a seated position, unless you'd like to stay in your Shavasana, which I hope you do. From here, I want to say thank you so much for letting me join you in your journey, as always. And I hope you have some time to reflect on what makes you joyous, what makes you happy. So with that, I will say namaste. Namaste. And have a wonderful evening. And I can't wait to see you next week.